Okay, I think we're
There
live.
we go. Yeah, we are. It's recording, and my little voice thing's bumping here. So go like this. Good, because actually it helps a lot when you do that, because you hit an automatic sync thing when you get it close.
Yeah.
You expand the audio so you can actually see and then you just get them close, and then you hit the sync, and it just syncs it right up.
Oh, perfect.
So it's nothing to do with anything that I know. Trust me, it's technology these days. So.
Well, we're in the middle of it.
Good day, my name's Tim Darrenbrook, and this is Georgina Speaks, and as always, thank God Martin is with me to keep me from losing my mind.
Good day, folks.
So, did you have any burning...
Well, I had just one thing I wanted to say before I forget, so I might as well say it now, is that just because this is Georgina Speaks, I'd like to make sure everybody shops locally, whenever you can. Like I don't even know whether, I think you should really make your list of everything that you have and try to get it locally, and if they can't, then go outside of that instead of going, ordering through Amazon or whatever you do, and then the leftovers you go locally. Well, I think let's go the other way this year and shop locally and give our store owners a chance here, because it's tough times for everybody, and particularly tough for them. Just shop Georgina was my message. And
that was your burning...
yeah, that was it.
Yeah, right. Well, yeah. Did you see my post the other day about that?
No, I don't know.
Well,
that I did.
I was online like like the slime ball there, online trying to save a few pennies on Amazon and save a trip to the store, and then I realized I buy these at Connors all the time.
Yeah.
Like, what an idiot! I'm on there, so I canceled it, and the next day I went and I bought 6 sets of guitar strings for some buddies of mine.
Yeah.
And they were cheaper.
Yeah, excellent.
Yeah, so it just reminded me, and you know what, I like. All the local people, you see them with the pizzerias and the flower store, and they're like all the local people, and they you don't realize how much they depend on you.
Yeah, no, for sure.
Yeah, so I'm glad you brought that up, because
I mean, it's easy to shop online. You don't have to go out of the house, and these days it's probably even a little bit safer.
Yeah.
But keep safety in mind, but shop locally. That's all I got to say.
Yeah, of course, 100%. And if you look at all of the other, there's a ton of people that subscribe to that. All the websites, they'll tell you, where you can get this and that. And I have to say, shout out to the town's economic development department. I watch their webpage all the time, and I'm always looking for a bunch of phony crap. When you're looking at big glossy stuff that consultants are putting, it isn't. It's a really good, the Georgina Development Facebook page for the town. Yeah. They really get into a lot of the local businesses, programs to help local businesses. There's some government grants and stuff, the towns. So hats off to them. They do a really good job. So
yeah, and right now I think everybody pretty well needs that.
Because my favorite thing to do is pick on the town, but when they get it right, I like to say so too. So
yeah, that's terrific.
Fair is fair. So I have a big housekeeping list.
Oh, okay. And then you go.
Yeah, all right. So then a couple of podcasts ago, I don't know if you remember me saying that the tax rate, about the increase in property values, 50%. That means a 50% tax increase if the mill rate's the same, right?
Right.
Right. So I was shooting my mouth off about the cost to go up since this council took over in 2014. Well, then, God love Amanda Pierces, I think her name is. She writes for The Advocate on the Georgina website. Next thing you know, I see a big post of the increases for 14, 15, 16, and only a 1.9 or a 0.9 increase. They just passed the budget 2 days ago. I think it's 1.9, whatever the percentage is.
Right.
Anyway, so when I seen it, I thought, well, maybe I was shooting my mouth off, and I better check myself out, because I like to do that. And if I'm wrong, I like to say, I'm sorry if I'm wrong, so... Well, I have to thank her, because I actually went over it, and I checked the last 10 years of the rate of inflation. And what prompted that particular statement that I made at the time was someone who was involved in the budgets in the past told me that until this council took over, they generally like to keep it to the rate of inflation.
Right. It's kind of a goal they have.
And true enough, I checked, and they did. And I checked everyone from 2015 on, when this council took over. Right. And every single one was close to double the rate of inflation.
Right.
Categorically, like on that year. And except for this year. And I don't think if I was council, I would be bragging about that it took a pandemic to curb my spending habits. It was just a thought I had, So anyway, that's my shot for the day. So.
Well, I'm sure the budget committee is probably, or in the budgeting is probably the hardest thing that they have to do in there, because they're dealing with everybody's money and everybody wants a piece of it and blah, blah, blah. I'm sure
they did keep it generally to the rate of inflation until this council took over, and they have generally been double the rate of inflation since this council took over. I mean, I checked it out, and I don't like to yip about council, but they're, Dave Neeson, Mike Waddington, Dan Fellini, Frank Zebo, Dave Harding, Rob. I respect them all. They're all up there trying to do the best they can. But what happened was when this new council took over, what's her name? She's not there anymore. Ann Grant. She was a big spender. She actually used to spend the 20% price pay increase for herself. Not Rebecca. That's Rebecca Matheson. No. I got to give her a pass because.
No, I don't know. Which one. I'm just trying to come up with a name.
Well, Rebecca was in charge, chief administration and financial officer for the town up until she had left, and when Ann came in around 2014, 13, something like that, and she was a big spending CAO of the town, and she big budgets, lots of consultants, blah blah blah, and she trained this council, and I have a funny feeling that her influence has probably not left them in the best stead.
Well, I know it wasn't that long ago that I was watching one of the council meetings and one of them got up. I can't remember who it was now because I didn't really think about it, that I'd be talking about it again.
Trust me, but the last thing I want to be talking about.
Yeah, and I remember it was somewhere around a 10 or 11% increase in the water bill. I'm going that's not inflation, but.
Well, 5 times, yeah.
Yeah, and then they did it a couple of years in a row. Yeah. Now I understand that we all need to have that and everything, but there was some expenditures that were not normal. However, 11% is 11%.
11%, that's a major. And and then when they show the budget, they show the same budget. So, but what happens is you don't know what's going on there, and the reason you don't know, and again, every council until this council always had everything earmarked. In other words, if they had a truck that had to be replaced, prospected in 5 years, they started setting money aside for it, and it was earmarked for that, and it didn't get touched. When that day came, the money was just automatically there. They've taken all the earmarks out, so now they can move it around however they want. Right. So when you get the budget that reflects, it isn't what it reflects, and it makes it very hard to get to the bottom of it. So I have some other ideas about what may have caused the increases as we've gone along, and not the least of which would be studies. And I've seen the cost of the appraisals they did for imaginary properties that they were appraising. Remember appraise all these parameters that don't apply, and then we'll apply the non-parameters, and then we'll figure out the value from there. Remember that one?
Yeah.
Right. So they paid $40,000 for 8 appraisals, and it's got 8 pages of disclaimers, notwithstanding the pandemic, notwithstanding the market, notwithstanding. So. Yeah. And that cost us $40,000. Andrew Biggert has received $50,000.
Right.
The town lawyer. Somebody, I better get to this subject. He's my next subject, by the way.
Okay.
And the reason is because they said it's fine to be critical of him, and I am always. That's my favorite thing to do. Pick a lawyer that I think is a mean guy, and then stick up to him. So, but he's a lawyer, and by all intents, I always said. Everybody speaks fairly highly of him, at the town and so on and so on. This is not about that. This is not about who he is. I disagree with what he did, the way he did it, and the influence that he took over based on everybody had no choice but to receive, framing everything in such a way that you can either take his advice or leave yourself open to legal lawsuit. Now there's the councillor's choice, and usually in a closed meeting. So you know who's running council, right?
Right.
Okay, that's my opinion. Nothing against him personally. I mean, it's his legal.
Of course. Yeah.
Whatever. So that would be that, and we paid him $50,000. Let me tell you what we got for our $50,000. Well, do you know who owns those properties right now?
No.
Right. Neither do we, and neither does council. They said so that night. So that's what we got for our $50,000. Nothing. That's my opinion. $120,000 for our beaches study.
Yes,
you see phase 1?
Yes.
Yeah. You know what we got for $120,000?
I'm not sure. I haven't seen this.
I researched it because I wanted to know really. $120,000 must be good, eh? We got our own map that we had produced with our beaches highlighted on it.
Yeah.
Yeah, and a nice warm and fuzzy internet interaction, with the residents. Yeah, so 120 grand. And then I guess the thing is that taxes being twice the rate of inflation, they're just spending too much money on studies, too much money on consultants, too much money on, and it's all a rationalization and a justification for doing what they've already decided they're going to do anyway.
Yeah.
And what they should do is skip the studies and do what they think is right. Yeah. And 9 times out of 10, they'll be right. That's what past councils have done. Yeah. You call experts in when you get jammed up about a specific thing that you're trying to do. You don't call an expert in to run the town. You don't call an expert in to see what we should do town-wide about. Like, it's bizarre, eh? Anyway.
Well, they seem to, that's how they operate when they make decisions. They get consultants in, I guess. Maybe that's something that,
That whole process has run rampant since this council took over. Yeah. Because when Ann Grant was essentially in charge of everything, because 5 new councillors, they had to be trained and so on into their, and they're doing the best they can. And they're a lot of great things have happened too. I better get to that part of it just to.
Yeah.
Well, I'll tell you what I say by good things, because before this most recent council, they kind of got into the whole MBA thing where you had to be an MBA to be a department head. You had to have an MBA, and so people couldn't come up through the ranks. That's gone out the window now. We got Dave Redding, CAO, Ryan Cronsberry, assistant CAO. You got Rachel in the clerk's office.
Right.
Yeah, all people that come up that have been there for years, come up through the ranks and deserve to be there. And I disagree with them on lots of stuff, but I respect. They probably know better than me what to do.
Well, they've been there quite a while, so the names I recognize.
Yeah, I get along good with all of them, and I disagree with them lots of times, and they tell me, "Nice try, Timmy, but you're not doing that." That's usually, so. But anyway, there's a really good balance there of historical employees, and they got some good new people too that get on to how we do things around here, and I can tell you. So I guess that's my housekeeping and cleaning, whatever you want to call it. I wanted to bring everything up to date. Man, that whole study issue. I don't want to get rolling on it but there's a couple of studies that they did. Pot stores. They did a study on pot stores. Like whether we want them in town. The majority said yes. Well, then they said, well, we don't care because we're going to vote no anyway. And then they voted yes. Didn't like it, so they waited until they got a better opportunity to get what they wanted, and then they voted no. And the amount of revenue, taxes and otherwise, and opportunity for business in town, and it's legal. So who's council to say, no, we're not going to have those stores in our town? Well, that's somebody personally deciding what's going to happen, isn't it?
Yeah, I would think.
Yeah, okay. So, all right, enough of that. So I guess a couple of things that have come up. Have you heard anything? I've had a lot of good feedback from people in the community regarding yours and my activity on behalf of the waterfront people.
Well, I've heard from a few myself, and it is kind of like the idea that we're out there, giving some information, because we all can't go to meetings anymore. I mean, with COVID, it's hard to meet with people face to face, belly to belly, which is I think a lot of this stuff could be solved by doing that, but we can't do that. And so they're just kind of happy that we're out there. At least they can listen to some information that's going on and try to keep up to date with their situation in a sense.
Yep.
Yeah. So I've heard some good positive things from there. I haven't heard really from anybody else. I haven't heard it from anybody from the town at all. But I've heard.
You're not going to hear from the town. Neither am I. You know what? I've in my legal pleadings. We'll get to that. As you know, myself and 7 other people have filed lawsuits against the town for the activities, for their irresponsible. It's stated as for their irresponsible and reckless behavior regarding the trying to claim that they know that they own everything and having bogus values put to them. And we talked last time about how that affects the value of people's property.
Right.
Well, that'll hold them responsible for that, but it doesn't deal with the issues at hand when it comes to the waterfront properties. It just strictly deals with those actions.
Right.
And that was the effect that was the immediate effect that I wanted, because I thought it was pretty irresponsible. And I'm not alone. I got 50 people that have sent me emails. If you need any money, Timmy, if you need anything, thanks for doing what you're doing. If I wasn't getting that, I would take a real serious look at whether we should be doing what we're doing. And
Right. Well, I think, you've got. I think what the whole bottom line here. I think I even said it maybe in a weird way. I said you've got both people standing on the chairs looking at each other, and all they got to do is really just sit down now and make themselves a deal that everybody's happy with, and then we don't have to discuss this anymore. It's it's almost like it's a political thing. They can do it. The town can do it. I just have to make a decision to do it. That's all.
They can do it, and here's the deal: the the lawyers, when they see that big paycheck coming over, we got a couple of big lawsuits going on here, we're going to make a ton of money. So they tell council, you can't talk to anybody about this because it's a legal matter now.
Yeah.
So they get, and you don't want to be sued and blah, 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 which is a big crock. And I've let the senior staff know, one phone call to the residents, not me, just phone the chair of and sit down, back up a stretch, give us 6 months to come with a proposal that would satisfy everybody's needs. The same as past council has done. So I guess I'll get that's a nice little segue into my thoughts on the whole process. The bottom line is that when for 150 years, all these people have had the exclusive use of that property, of the properties across the road. Not only to do with council, not only to do with the original formulation of the road itself to the original Smalley survey and the quarterly report of 1838.
Yeah.
So but also it was just understood. Everybody did it, and then 40 years ago, council, they first came to council. We got to figure out how to deal with this road. In all of their meetings, and I checked every single one of them. You know me, I have too much time on my hands. Well, I went back and I read everything that had to be read. And so past council have respected people's rights to their property across the road. Then 30 years ago, when Rusty Russell report got done. Now this is the definitive opinion on roads in Ontario. He wrote a book, and it cost me $180 to buy it, and I did, and I'm glad I did, because he deals with everything in there to do with the historical evolution of roads, the historical evolution as it relates to the entire Lake Drive. His report was only from Varney Road up, so it didn't cover the Orchard Beach stuff, but his book covers all of it.
Right.
And riparian rights is another thing. And he quotes all the acts. So then, like a brain dead idiot, I start going and finding the acts and reading them too, right? So see if my opinion was different than Rusty Russell's. Like that would be, that's an important one. So anyway, where I ended up was, I believe that it would be a safe bet to trust Rusty Russell, right? The town lawyer, last year at the meeting when he made his proclamation that he knows he owns everything, he said, I read the Rusty Russell report and did a couple title searches 3 years ago. So that would be like 2016. Okay, I agree with him. But Rusty Russell doesn't. Because I read the meetings when Rusty Russell attended, when his report was being discussed, when all of this stuff was coming up and all the issues from Hedge Road down all in through, Hedge Road wasn't, it was still part of it though. Like they were looking at what to do with lakefront properties and all this stuff, and how does the law apply to everything.
Right.
And then for all that stretch from Jackson's Point down to Varney Road, the big issue, Bob McLaughlin was there. I'll probably have to subpoena Bob when it comes time to do our court case. And I'll have to subpoena Rob Grossi because he was there. I've never talked to Rob about this either, by the way, just so you know. Well, because I had some people tell me, are you doing this for political reasons? And the answer is no.
No.
And I specifically, but Rob wouldn't talk to me about it anyway, and I've not tried to talk to him about it because I want to be really clear. This effort, its own effort. And and Rusty Russell stated categorically, nobody wins a lawsuit. There's no way of knowing what would happen if we went to court. But what he believed would be the most likely scenario is if he took this to the Attorney General of Ontario, the Attorney General would fight for the maximum public interest, and in so doing would impose a 66-foot road allowance. Good. Town owns a road. Now, thanks for telling us what we've known for 150 years.
Right.
The definition of the road was being challenged at the time, 50 feet or 66 feet, and so on and so on. So that kind of answers that question. Even if you went to the max, 66 feet. Town owns a road, good for you. You own a road, plow the damn thing so I can get to my property, including the waterfront. So anyway, the gist of it is that everything outside of that 66 feet on the water side even if there's a small strip left over that used to belong to the property across the road, that isn't into the provincial.
The water line, yeah.
Yeah, the water, the bottom. What do they call it? The lake bottom.
Lake bottom, yeah.
Yeah, the mapping for the lake bottom. So if there is a strip, you can dispute who owns it. Maybe you could, if you're the owner across the road, you could say we've always owned that. Then, even if you say okay, the province owns it, the riparian rights belong to the adjoining landowner. And then, Mr. Biggert, I'm sure, is going to jump up and say, no, the Riparian Rights Act says, or case law, and Rusty Russell himself says in recent years, that the act has been changed to say that in those areas where the road allowance goes right to the water, the town owns the riparian rights. Save and accept special exceptions that have been made. Welcome to Georgina. Yeah, and categorically, in the early 90s, with Rusty Russell there, all the lawyers there, the council there, all the residents there, the most important group of people in this whole scenario. And they all developed policies and a format to deal with this situation. And ever since, the people have been granted the riparian rights across the road, permits and so on, with the consent of the town. So what is this guy? We own everything, we're not going to do that anymore? You can't do that.
Yeah, it doesn't make a whole bunch of sense. Well, it hasn't since we started this.
Right. So then, in order to get into those issues, because somebody's being an idiot, and I won't name him, but because really these are issues that have to be sat down and discussed. They can't be summed up in the phrase, "We own everything." It doesn't work. So, and I've tried to have the discussion. They're not interested because they think he's going to win the day for them or something. I have no idea, and I don't care. What I do know is get it before a judge. I love the courts. I hate having to go through it. But if you can get it to the end and the 3 judges are sitting there, they will look at all the parameters. It's a level playing field. You own everything? Good. Spit it out. Why do you think that?
Yeah.
I don't think they own it? Good. Spit it out. Why do you think that? So we all get to have our say. And we're not in a council chamber where council just gets to decide whatever they want to do. And so that's why I'm actually this week filing for judicial review of the entire process by the courts, and then cost. And I will say thank you to everybody who has sent me their support and offers of financial support. And I will probably need some to cover the cost of filings and that kind of stuff. But it's $220, and I've already been sent more than that, enough to cover that. And then. And the lawsuits that we all filed were covered by the individuals. And then, so we're going ahead with a judicial review. And it's unfortunate. I've made many overtures to the town to try to resolve it, or even their legal representative, have somebody call me, and I have a solution, actually. I really do. And it's in conjunction with the residents, but they're not interested. They want to say we own it all because they want to change that residential community, one that's been there for 150 years. The people that live there have paid the highest taxes based on their own waterfront property. It's their designation in the assessments.
Right.
So, I get kind of wound up about it, but it is the truth. It's not somebody. I don't know who got it in their head they have a right to mess in these people's lives. It's insane. Anyway, that's my rant for the day, Martin. Is it any good or no?
No, I think you're good. Yeah.
Okay, good.
Yeah,
well, I always check with you. Am I losing my mind?
No, losing our mind is hard to do.
Yeah. So the one thing that comes
we're losing it in a day by day, but
Yeah. So
no, I think you got a good point, Tim, about all that stuff. It just doesn't seem to be fair. And if they're I don't know how many times we've said, why do the 2 sets of parties or whatever sit down and just resolve it?
They're not interested.
And so. It's like playing a handball without a ball. I think the residents all want to get it cleaned up.
Of course.
And so they throw the ball over and there's no ball, or it's not coming back. So
no, the mayor's just not letting anybody talk about anything. They won't let anybody try to resolve it. They think that they're going to win in the end. And I'm going to tell you, Rusty Russell was right. Nobody wins. Yeah. I've been through these. I spent 3 years with my gut wrenching, and if I'd lost, then it would have cost me. Like I could have had a $500,000 expense bill that I would have had to pay if I lost. Right. And there was no guarantees I was going to win. And God love my wife at the time. She was, it's funny, we went through 3 years of that. It's just brutal.
Yeah, it was. I remember. I was kind of there with you.
Well, I know you remember because I phoned you about every other day. Am I losing my mind yet, Martin? And no, you're not losing your mind yet.
I just think I threw out the 3,000 pages of stuff I had to read.
Yeah, exactly. So
thanks a lot.
But and hats off to her, and I'll tell you why. Because it was quite an inspiration to me at the time, because she used to say, "If you're right, you'll win." And she never once said, "Why don't you just give it up?" And then never. Which was, to her credit, because I know her and Jessica, like my stepdaughter, used to drive me nuts every day. I was coming and going, doing documents, and I had the kitchen table, and she'd, be giving me shit for having all my documents all over the house half the time. But well worth it. I was happy about winning then, and I'll be happy when I win this one, because this one's easier. I mean, it's categorical. Yeah. So we're really clear that the council has doubled the rate of inflation every year for the last 5 years since they become board.
Well, I can hardly wait for the new building and all that stuff. I can just.
The Merc. You had to bring it up, didn't you?
Yeah, I know, but.
You had. I'm going to read the Merc budget there in the next. I'm leaving for Cuba soon. I wanted to say I'm going to be leaving for Cuba, and I'll be there for a couple of months. But every day I have my email, I have the internet, I'll be doing everything, and I'm going to sort out that Martin and I can do Zoom. Podcasting down there, because
Harry is going to be in 80 degrees and I'm going to be in minus whatever.
I'll feel bad sitting there in my my bathing suit on the beach.
I can hardly wait for that one.
So I can hardly wait too, to be honest with you. I'll be sitting at the local cafe with my they got internet at the local cafe, so I'll be able to sit there with my straw hat and my Hawaiian shirt and just do a podcast with you here. And so I'll be communicating in that way, and but I'll be filing my judicial review this week, and then I can attend to the rest of it. And most of it won't take place before March when I come back anyway. Right. 1st of March or in the middle of February, I'll come back, a couple weeks early if I need to attend to something, but I'm hoping not to have to. Right. And man, I got a big old family down there. I can't wait. I've been in a bubble of one for 7 months.
I know.
Do you have any?
Well, when you made me laugh, when you're doing the park, so there's 2 of us in a park.
Yeah.
Acres of land, swimming pools, and nobody to talk.
Yeah, when the pandemic first started, they weren't even allowed to come to the park, and it was me and one other person who could prove it was our principal residence for the summer.
Yeah,
and it was perfect. Like, I thought I was in the middle of a Stephen King movie. I was waiting for a dog to go by, and I'm wondering, who's that dog? It doesn't, it was funny. So I spent way too much time in my head, which is like a scary part of the town. You shouldn't really go there alone, but.
Well, I think you'll get a good little bit of a rest there, and nice and get warm like the rest of us want it. I imagine a lot of these people on that we've been in Georgina, we've got quite a few snowbirds. I think, especially along maybe that stretch too of the lake. Yeah. And I'm sure they're all going to be a little envious if you're in your Hawaiian shirt, nice and warm, and they're sitting up under supposed lakefronts freezing.
No kidding. Well, good luck. Happy you got your lakefront there, because I'll be on a beach, and I'll be at a beachfront in Cuba.
Yeah.
So I guess, I'm going ahead with judicial review. We filed the 8 lawsuits. That's going on. That's all from residents. That's not just me. The judicial review is supported with a good large number of the residents.
You were mentioning to me, Tim, about a thing that you got some maps and the people could identify where they were on the maps. And
I got a ton of response from that.
I haven't seen. I've been kind of busy on some other stuff, but
well, actually, oddly enough, I was sitting on the couch watching TV with my laptop on my lap like I usually am, and I wondered, well, wait a minute, doesn't the Conservation have mapping? So I went on the Conservation Authority mapping, and sure enough, if you click an address or you just click on a road, the whole block comes up, like concession tube or whatever.
Right.
So that section of the waterfront is like right there. So I screenshot it. So then I just went all the way up the lake.
Okay. Yeah.
And made a video out of each one as it would come up, so that each landowner could identify their map, pause it, print screen their map, and put an arrow to where their property is and send me a letter. So now I can identify. And the beauty of that is, and now I have a large host of circumstances. In other words, people that have land title, people that have a registry deed, but it's not in land titles, people that just have a PIN number associated with a beachfront piece that's associated with rights with their deed. So that piece would have a number of landowners that would have the same PIN number.
Right.
And then there's the ones that just own their property. There's no deed, no PIN number, no nothing, but they have riparian rights given to them by the ministry. And by the way, riparian rights are defined as owner rights.
Okay.
Yeah, and if you read the Riparian Rights Act, and I read the other legislation that came to do with governing roads, everything that Rusty Russell has in his book, everything that he had in his decision. I read his report, It wasn't an opinion, by the way. It was a report, and it was a report on that you could look at in a number of different ways. A number of lawyers have had some points of it that they disagreed with, and so on. So it's a work in progress. Rusty Russell himself declared that, asked for input, got it, and this council, together with him and the other lawyers, everybody was there to decide what to do about this, and everybody decided that there's no winning a lawsuit, there's no reason to have a lawsuit. They just needed to maintain the road, fencing and that kind of stuff for view of the lake, that kind of thing, so it didn't become a dark spot where you drive up through. So like there was some honest concerns that were addressed. That's another thing I wanted to address. I'm glad you put me off here because and it's this. There is a large legal principle that will come into play in these matters, and it's called deference. And the deference is owed to the municipality for their right to run their corporation. In other words, if what they're doing is in the proper process of running their corporation, logistically, whatever, they have a right. And it's called, the deference to that right is a legal principle. And in this case, for 40 years, every time the council and staff have had issues that they had to deal with lakefront, the residents stepped up and had come to agreements about fence sizes, setback from the road so they can plow, all the logistical stuff. McLaughlin knew this. He just come up with a set of parameters that he needed, and the residents all agreed. So this is, they showed more than enough deference. Everybody respects the town's right to run their town, and in these actions, the council and that lawyer disrespected everybody's rights, and drives me crazy. And we'll get there. Sorry.
Yeah, well, that's where we are.
Yeah, sorry, I get a little bit. Well, because it's so simple. It's so simple. This could be resolved. But somebody has a vision that has nothing to do with what should be going on there, and because they have that vision, get lost. It's a private residential community, and nothing more. It's not a day at the beach. There's beaches there. They're identified. They've been there forever. There's places where the road goes, the 66 feet goes to the water. Good, knock yourself out, whatever you need to do. But beyond that, you don't own it. So, just a nice closing, segue here. I'm sorry for ranting today, Martin. I just want to get a lot of this dealt with because I'm going away in a week, and then it'll probably be 2 or 3 weeks before I can hook up our Zoom so we can do this again. This is what I want. I'd like to kind of epitomize what's going on here. The town is asking us to believe that they should expand what is essentially an expropriation for a road allowance. Not only to the 66 feet, which the standard road allowances in all of Canada, or at least all of Ontario are, they want to expand it beyond that to encompass pieces of property that they've already determined that they don't need, so they can sell it back to the people that they're expropriating it off. Yeah. Is that?
That sounds like
what they're doing? Yeah, okay. I wasn't sure. I want to be really clear.
Well, I've always wondered what the whole, why is this happening?
Yeah, why?
Is there a money grab going on? I don't know. It seems like...
No, I have my belief. I can tell you what it is.
Well, I guess, what, we'll find out. I guess actually, we can leave it at that because I think that's the intriguing part of this is why this is all happening.
I don't think they plan on selling anything back to anybody. I think they want the whole lakefront to make it into a nice... And it says right there, after they decide the ones that they need for future use,
right,
the remainders we can sell back. So they could effectively say, well, we've decided we need it all. Oh, they want to go to public meetings. They want to take people's private property in. Thanks for bringing that up. Private property into public meetings. So what do you think when they get into the public? Well, do you think we should keep all the lakefront property or should we sell it to them? What do you think? That's not going to happen. I'm going to tell you right now. That's the main reason that I intend to file the judicial review to stop the town from doing things with private property that they ought not to be doing. It's no different. How would you like them to come and see your property down on Lake Drive or my property on Walter Drive? It's beside a walkway. We need to expand the walkway. So let's say we own that. And then say, well, let's take your property and see what the public want us to do with your property.
Yeah.
Nice, eh?
Yeah, that's not, and that's about...
and that is what's going on.
And that's the only leverage that they can actually have, I think.
It is,
because if they take it for we don't even know what reason, but if I'm sure that if I'm sitting somewhere on some back street and you say, oh, you mean I can go and sit and have a picnic in front of that $2 million house there on Lake Drive, and nobody can stop me?
Are you kidding? The police have had to been called a number of times. People have people on their docks saying, no, the town said this is public property. I can come here and you can't stop me. That's what they're doing.
Yeah.
Yeah. And council's laughing about it. They think it's funny that people are suffering through that. It's disgusting. Like you'd think they would, that's a really irresponsible action, and I'll tell you why. Because those people have been there. Every past 10 councils have all respected that. Yeah. And now they're putting these people at risk because somebody's got a vision.
Yeah.
That's disgusting. Anyway, you know what? Sorry, guys, I didn't mean to get too wound out there, but everybody just has to sit down, but they don't want to do that because they're wrong.
Yeah.
Because they're, yeah. Anyway, I won't be editing this out because I never edit anything out, so that no matter what happens, you get a true representation of what transpired.
Yeah. Yeah, everything's been 100%. I watched them, and that's exactly what we did. Okay, so
your wife said to say hello too, by the way.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, you forgot your phone at home?
Yes.
Yeah, okay. So I texted and she texted back, and we had a chat, and Harvey's getting better, and she said to say hello, you know.
Okay, great. Thanks for that communication gap.
Yeah, there you go. Always good to bridge the gap. So thanks, Martin, so much, and we'll look forward to doing some more.
Okay, and happy holidays if we don't see everybody or whatever, and shop locally, and we'll catch you guys soon.
Yeah, shop locally, and I'll see you from Cuba, I promise.
Terrific.
Bye-bye.